Hello everyone, and welcome to Retro Games in Rally English. My name is Juho Kuorikoski, I'm a Finnish journalist and a non-fiction author, and I'm here to talk about old games in my very Finnish English. To kick things off, we'll be talking about Star Trek 25th Anniversary, which is one of my all-time favorite games. It's a point-and-click adventure game set in Star Trek universe, so I couldn't think anything better. I'm a huge fan of point-and-click games and Star Trek, so that game is like a catnip for me. And it is also a very good example of how to make a proper licensed game. So, buckle up and let's get into Star Trek, shall we?
Star Trek 25th Anniversary was released by Interplay in 1992 for PC, just barely missing the real anniversary of the science fiction monolith. The original floppy version was followed by an enhanced CD-ROM version in 1992. An Amiga version was released in 1994. What makes the enhanced version special is the voice acting, which was done by the original Star Trek cast. William Shatner, Leonard Nimoy, DeForest Kelley and all the other stars of the TV show returned to their roles as the officers of the USS Enterprise. The final mission of the game was also redone in the CD-ROM edition. Instead of short and hard shoot-'em-up mission, the game's finale is revamped so that it becomes the best mission of the game. The game is split into two different segments, the bridge and away missions. The bridge mode includes Wing Commander-style space combat, which is rather tiresome. The Enterprise behaves like an X-Wing, and there isn't that much tactics involved, what you might expect from a Star Trek game. Interplay later released a patch for the game, which makes the combat optional. Dogfights with the Romulans and Klingons aren't that difficult, but at the same time the combat isn't exciting either. The away missions are the bread and butter of the game, and this is where the game shines. You will receive orders from Starfleet, select a destination from the star charts, and warp to the unknown. Navigation functions as a convenient copy protection method, as the star chart with proper planet names is provided in the instruction manual. Once you have reached the right coordinates, you'll blast your way through a position with phasers and photon torpedoes blazing. Then you'll beam down with the away team, consisting of Kirk, Spock, McCoy and a redshirt whose role is to function as the occasional cannon fodder. You know, one of these guys. The 7 missions included in the game are as good as the episodes of the TV series. And there's a reason for this. The whole production crew knew what they were doing. This game is a love letter from Trekkies to Trekkies. I don't want to give too much away and spoil the game for those of you who haven't played it, but there's a load of nudges towards the source material, such as recurring cast members and puzzle solutions derived from Star Trek lore. Although the space combat plays an important role in terms of the gameplay, the away missions rely on peaceful measures and diplomatic approaches. This is what Star Trek was all about back in the day, and that's why puzzles and dialogue work so well. Point-and-click adventure game mechanics are a perfect fit for a Star Trek game. While the game rocks as a Star Trek game, it also functions well as a solid adventure game in its own right. The puzzles are logical, dialogue is well written, and the structure works like a charm.
Fascinating.
The most important thing, besides the solid gameplay, is the general feel of the game. 25th Anniversary captures the core of the original Star Trek so well that it can honestly be considered as the 4th season of the original series. How was this achieved?
All in all, Star Trek 25th Anniversary is an excellent point-and-click adventure game. It also marvels as a licensed product, but this was no accident. The developers knew their Star Trek.
Originally, Gene Roddenberry visioned Star Trek to have 5 seasons, but the series got cancelled after the 3rd season. One of the reasons why 25th Anniversary feels like the 4th season of the series is thanks to the license holder Paramount, who gave strict instructions to Interplay regarding the format of the game. The developers were all Star Trek fans, and writers had Roddenberry show bibles to use to ensure that the facts were straight and feel authentic. Michael A. Stackpole and Elizabeth Danforth were responsible for the script, and this dynamic duo started their careers in Interplay in the early 1980s. Before 25th anniversary, they were working with Wasteland and the third installment of the Bard's Tale franchise. Stackpole has written numerous Battletech and Star Wars novels, and Danforth got into fanfiction through Star Trek. Paramount wasn't the most flexible partner when it came to Star Trek, and because Stackpole and Danforth worked as freelancers, they had to greenlight their work through Interplay, who in turn greenlighted it with Paramount. After everything was green, gameplay elements such as puzzles and additional dialogue was integrated within the story. It was quite common in the 1990s that the script for a game was cobbled together in haste and slapped on top of the gameplay. But 25th anniversary does things a little bit different. Writers have said that Interplay understood what Star Trek was all about, so the story is in the core of the game, and the gameplay itself complements the written content. The space combat, on the other hand, went through a total transformation from the original plans. At first, the developers were planning on using a more tactical approach to combat. Interplay founder Brian Fargo has stated that the game had two sides, Star Trek and the simulation of Star Trek. However, these plans were trashed because of the release of Wing Commander, a fast-paced dogfight space combat game. Because of this, a massive starship controls like a fighter, and the combat in whole has an arcade feel to it. There is a layer of depth, although it is somewhat superficial. Shields need to be raised and weapons armed, and Scotty can take care of the damage, and you can prioritize what should be fixed first. And of course, you have two distinct weapon systems, phasers and photon torpedoes to throw at your opponent. But generally, all you need to do is to get your opponent in your crosshairs and blast him to pieces by unleashing all your firepower. On the visual side, the space combat looks like the special effects of the original Star Trek straight from the 60s. Polygons are the de facto standard nowadays when something three-dimensional needs to be shown on the screen. A couple of decades ago, computers weren't able to run that kind of graphics, so developers needed to find alternative solutions. The ship's sprites were derived from scale models, which were photographed in several different angles. The images were then digitized and inserted in the game. The best version of the game is by far the CD-ROM edition, which has the enhanced final mission and the original cast as voice actors. Brian Fargo has stated that the negotiations with Shatner, Nimoy and others were tiresome, but they managed to get everyone on board by appealing to nostalgia. This could be the last time the original cast would be together, as there would be no more movies. If the original cast wouldn't have agreed, the full talkie version of the game would have been shelved because of the agreement Interplay had made with Paramount. For DeForest Kelley, Interplay Star Trek games were the last time he played the role of Dr. Leonard Bones McCoy. Kelley passed away in 1999. There were some issues when the actors were recording the dialogue. Some lines needed to be rewritten because the actors felt that they didn't fit the characters. One producer made the mistake to correct William Shatner on how to say a word sabotage, and this was how he replied.
Spock, sabotage the system. Spock, restore the atmosphere. Spock, sabotage the system.
Okay, do you have line 193 again with sabotage, sabotage?
I don't say sabotage. You say sabotage. I say sabotage. Please don't tell me how to do it. It's sick of me.
So, it's been a couple of decades since Star Trek 25th anniversary was released. Although years have passed, the game still rocks. It's hell of an adventure game, a licensed game, and in my books it's the best Star Trek game ever made. There's a sequel for this. Interplay released Star Trek Judgment Rights in 1993. It's almost as good. There's an overarching storyline and better graphics, but the missions themselves, they aren't as good as in the 25th anniversary. All in all, it's a very good game, an excellent Star Trek game, so you should definitely check it out. And if this game is new to you, you can get it from GOG.com, and it's compatible with modern computers. This was a nightmare to get running back in the day, and this game taught me how to edit the boot up files of an old DOS machine. So, if you are a Star Trek fan and you haven't checked out these titles, I strongly recommend that you do so. Trust me, you'll be doing yourself a favor.
In this day and age, I think we all could use a little bit of Star Trek. and I'm not talking about the modern interpretations of Roddenberry's vision. The core of Star Trek has always been peaceful existence with others, rather than the doomsday scenarios Star Trek Discovery is feeding us. The original Star Trek aired during the height of the Cold War. It promoted peace, friendship and diplomacy. In these bleak modern times, there would be room for a classic Star Trek series. Fortunately we have that, but it goes with the name The Orville.
To end things on a high note, I hope you all live long and prosper. The race was hard and tire was bad. Until next time, Kuorikoski out.